What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard and you're not strong. Well, I know the answer for you, and it will lead to real truth. And don't look back to yesterday.
Now there are answers.
Tomorrow's on the
Welcome to
way.
LivePrayer.
It's waiting there for you.
Here's your host.
And welcome to LivePrayer. I'm Bill Keller. Good to be with you on this Wednesday evening. If you're new to the program, you're watching LivePrayer. We come to you live in living color every Monday through Friday, 11 to midnight Eastern Daylight Time, wherever you are across this great land of ours. Sea to shining sea, border to what is no longer a border anymore. Thank you for tuning in. Our friends in other far-off great lands, I want to thank you for tuning in too. I'm really encouraged when I see the traffic numbers each morning of the people that are watching us literally all over the world. So welcome to you as well. Once again, I'm Bill Keller, founder of LivePrayer.com, world's largest interactive Christian website. Reach a little over 2.5 million folks each and every day via the internet. Please check us out online. Web address on the screen, LivePrayer.com. Don't be afraid when you go there. Nothing to sell you. No pop-ups, no spinning ads. Matter of fact, no ads at all. Just 22 plus years of great Frontlines ministry content, all available to be a blessing to you. Check it out, liveprayer.com. All right, this is one of those nights where you're going to have to buckle in for our friends who are normal viewers. You know what that means. We're going to pray, we're going to get going, and you're just going to hang on by your fingernails because I have a lot of content tonight, a lot of really interesting content tonight, a lot of interesting information that you really need to be aware of. I shouldn't even take a few seconds to say this, but I need to. Probably one of the reasons that I have been so fascinated by the just the spontaneous nature of the Biden chant that's going around the country. It's probably one of the most real things I've seen in a long time. As I go through the topics tonight, I'm floored by how much of this stuff is premeditated. Now, I've always told you that there's no accidents, no coincidences with God. I've also taught you over the years that when you're talking huge amounts of money, huge world events, even those huge world events that look like they just happened, well, at the end of the day, we always find out they didn't just happen. They were orchestrated with a purpose, with a reason. I mean, the only huge world event that I can think of off the top of my head that man has no role in is when fallen nature, raises its ugly head. Hurricanes, typhoons, tornadoes, natural wildfires, floods, all of those acts of nature. But when it comes to a lot of the things that we see day in and day out, when you get behind the scenes and you see how concocted, and I got a stunner for you tonight on the whole Chinese flu situation, and I'm going to share it with you. Make your own, draw your own conclusions. But it just, again, it's very amazing to me how many things that when you finally get to see behind the curtain, it's like the Wizard of Oz. There really was no Wizard of Oz, was there? All right, let's pray. Father, thank you for this night. Thank you for this opportunity to gather together in your name. I stand in the gap tonight for my dear friends who are watching this program, those who are watching live at this very moment, those who will be watching in the hours and days and weeks and months to come. I lift up them and their families and pray that their every need be met for the glory of God. Thank you for this wonderful day we've enjoyed, the blessings therein. Now open our hearts and minds. help us to see, hear, and understand the things we need to see, hear, and understand tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's get going. Well, I've been a little surprised the last couple days at the unbelievable coverage that something I shared with you a week ago was going on. And I don't know why it took basically a whole week to catch up, but it did. And that's this whole issue of the FBI investigating parents at school board meetings. Now, as I shared with you a week ago, and again, anybody who watches this program on any regular basis, when you heard about this in whatever media source you get news from, I'm sure you just kind of laughed because Bill Keller on LivePrayer was talking about this a week ago. And this is basically a memo that went out from the Attorney General's office to put people on notice, put moms and dads on notice that you're now considered a domestic terrorist. If you're one of those fools that goes to a school board meeting and raises your voice and chastises those board members and complains about what they're teaching your little children, you are now considered a domestic terrorist. And let me just say this, because of course this isn't something that the media, any of the media is really, putting the bow on this story. And the bow on this story is exactly what I started to tell you 11 months ago, right after the election. The government is going to be coming after the 75 million or so people who voted for Donald Trump. And they're specifically going to be targeting primarily white Christian men, if you want to know the focus of their ultimate target. But they're coming after anybody who didn't jump on board with the current administration. And they're doing this in many ways. We've seen them with the military. Matter of fact, the military is going to start their investigations again, starting tomorrow. They're ramping back up their look at the military ranks to purge the military of potential dangerous people who could be a threat to the military. Now, when you cut through all of their verbiage, basically what they're saying, they want to purge the military of any white Christian men. Let's just bottom line it. And now they're in how this whole demonization of parents started. There's an association that all school boards belong to from all over the country. So as you can imagine, a national organization of something like school boards, of which every community has one, right, is a pretty powerful organization. And like most of these national organizations, they're very left-leaning, because of course they've got ties with the teachers union and all that. They give a lot of money to the Democratic Party. And they told the Attorney General, you need to start investigating these parents who are potential threats to school board members. Now, I've heard some heated rhetoric. I didn't see anybody going up and assaulting a school board. And by the way, if that happened, you've got local laws that will take care of that. If you've got some idiot parent that, isn't satisfied with just talking, but actually wants to go assault a school board member, that's a job for the local police, not the FBI. But this is just another excuse for the government to get involved in purging, intimidating into silence. Again, boy, I hope you're with me in 2019. One of the things I just beat like a drum night after night was the 3 stages of conflict. Debate, okay? We're long past that stage. Silence, we're heavy into that stage. And then what's the 3rd stage? Violence. We saw that all summer in 2020, didn't we? They were no longer interested in debate. They were no longer interested in even silencing of people. They took to the violence. So, and by the way, again, Nothing's ever what it seems. That might be the theme of tonight's program. Nothing is ever how it seems. Turns out that our new Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who, thank God, never made it to the Supreme Court. If you remember, he was the one, the centrist that Obama wanted to put on the court, okay? That Mitch McConnell, and one of the few things he's ever done in his political career that was worthy, blocked that. Yeah, but it's a bone, I guess, they gave Merrick Garland the Attorney Generalship. Now, just for the record, there's a woman named Lisa Monaco. She goes back to the Clinton years. She was a big player in the Obama years. She was all involved in all of the Russia stuff and everything else. She's an assistant U.S. attorney. She's the one that's running the Department of Justice, just so you understand who the players are. Lisa Monaco. She's a piece of work. She's a nasty woman. She's an Obama devotee like you can't imagine. Merrick Garland is not as bad as Joe Biden, but he's not far behind Biden. And so it's Lisa Monaco, just so you know, that's running the Department of Justice. It's Lisa Monaco that I'm sure reports directly to Susan Rice, who, of course, is Obama's point person to kind of run the day-to-day operations as far as the Obama administration goes. And that's what this is. This is the Obama administration. Don't even think for a second Biden's anything but a puppet. That's why they don't care about his poll numbers. He was in Michigan yesterday. Here's another thing for you to think about. He's in Michigan yesterday to speak at some business about his Build Back Better garbage, which again, Build Back Better, just understand, that's not, Make America Great Again wasn't totally unique, but it was the first time any major political organization like the Trump campaign made that their slogan, right? Build Back Better, if you just do some basic Google searches, that's decades old language. That's globalist language. Shock, 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 right? Build Back Better is globalist language. That's not some clever phrase Biden came up with. It's got roots in communism and socialism. It's a globalist phrase that's been around for a long time. They use it in Europe all the time. Nothing unique, just like nothing is unique to this administration. But he goes to Michigan. Now, this is a guy that you're supposed to believe got 81 million votes. And this is true wherever he goes. As his motorcade was going from the airport to wherever this business was, the streets were lined. About 1,000 people on the streets. Not one of them was from Joe Biden. They were all Trump people with signs. Trump won, Trump 2020, Trump 2024, Trump won. Of course, the new iconic sign, that starts with a vulgar word that begins with F, Joe Biden. Lots of those signs. And the interesting thing, you can tell Biden saw the signs because he couldn't help but to mention it. And he reminded people, I got 81 million votes. Like, that's supposed to negate how the country feels about him. By the way, his approval rating right now is at 38%. 38%, and still dropping. See, Obama would never go below 44, 45% because he actually had a base of people that support him no matter what. Trump the same way. As much damage as they tried to do to Trump, he would never drop below 43, 44% because he actually had real people behind him. Biden has nobody. He can't even get one person to show up with a, thank you, Joe, or go, Joe, go sign. Not one. And this isn't new to yesterday. This is everywhere he goes. Out of 81 million votes, you're telling me nobody shows up to support him? Not one? Unbelievable. But going back to Merrick Garland real quick, before I move on. Merrick Garland, Attorney General. Turns out, and again, if you watch this program, like I started tonight, there's no accidents, no coincidences. Merrick Garland's son-in-law happens to run a company that's heavily invested in by people like Jeff Bezos, by the way. Well, what a shock, right? This company sells curriculum to school systems all over the country. The son-in-law of Attorney General Merrick Garland, his company, has millions and millions and millions of dollars of contracts with school systems all over the country to sell them what? Books on critical race theory, the very thing these parents are mostly, screaming at these school boards about. Like I said, when you start peeling away at the onion, it's never what it seems. Merrick Garland's got a vested interest in this issue to intimidate parents into silence. Not just because they want to target them for their political views. That's one thing. But as a side, his son-in-law happens to be making millions selling this race-baiting garbage to school systems all over the country. But, so for all you moms and dads out there, all you domestic terrorists, this is just an extent. Now do you see why the FBI ran this false flag, the PSYOP, whatever you want to call it, on 1/6? It then opened up the whole panacea to them for them to basically tag anybody they disagree with politically as a domestic terrorist. It's insane. And I got to tell you something. They're serious. These 1/6 people have been locked up for 8-9 months now. Solitary, lot of them, who did nothing but they would just happen to be in the Capitol. I'm not saying give them a trespassing, warrant or whatever. But these are people that didn't break anything, didn't hurt anybody, didn't attack anybody, didn't assault anybody. If you think they're not going to try to make an example just to try to scare parents, just wait and see what they do. They're going to go through with this. I trust me when I tell you that. The NIH director, Dr. Francis Collins, he's on TV yesterday, still saying, well, that still could have come from an animal host. It's not entirely certain it came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Collins, by the way, is stepping down at the end of the year. Smart move, because I think he knows that the party's about ready to come crashing down, and he's going to try to get out of town before he spends the rest of his life in jail where he belongs. Still pimping for the Chinese. Of course he is. Don't forget, he's Fauci's boss. So he's up to his eyeballs in this too. That's why he's still saying, well, I don't know, it may not be a lab leak theory. I agree with him with that, though, by the way. It wasn't a lab leak. It was on purpose. Oh, wait till I tell you about, I got some things to tell you about. By the way, I'm so glad I was vindicated. I got a lot of emails when I shared with you weeks and weeks ago that the FBI never gave full FDA approval to the Pfizer vaccine. They didn't. They gave it to another drug that isn't even being manufactured in the United States. You cannot get a FDA-approved vaccination for COVID-19 in this country. You cannot. There are none yet. There are none yet. They played this shell game because they knew some people, one of the big arguments for people not getting vaccinated, well, it's experimental. It's an experimental stage. I'm not putting that in my body. I'm going to wait till it's been FDA approved. So they rushed in and approved an FDA sister to the Pfizer vax that isn't even available in this country, just to take that particular objection away. I'm telling you, nothing they do is legitimate. That's going to be the reoccurring theme on this program tonight. You watch as we go through all these different topics tonight. The one reoccurring thread through all of it is the absolute scam that they have to play on every issue. And some of these things, I don't know why they even do it. I don't even know why they do it. Of course, there's zero media follow-up on this fact. By the way, there was an FBI hearing at one of these congressional committees. They admitted, they were asked about Antifa. And they admitted, well, we don't really track Antifa. You know, we don't really see them as a threat. No, they're just the ones who spent all summer burning billions of dollars worth of businesses to the ground, looting tens of millions of dollars of merchandise, assaulting over 1,200 police officers. A dozen people died in the wake of those riots all over the country last summer, and they were all basically spearheaded by Antifa and Black Lives Matter. But the FBI doesn't have time for them. They're too busy chasing moms and dads at school board meetings. There was an incident in D.C. the other day that I guess didn't work out the way they wanted it. Early in the morning, a suspicious car was seen parked near the Supreme Court building. And they surrounded the car, and apparently the driver of the car, middle-aged white man from Michigan, told them there was a bomb in the car. He's going to blow up the Supreme Court, blah, blah, blah. Which, if you're going to blow up the Supreme Court, at least go up to as close to the building, not in the middle of the street. And at the end of the day, he had no bomb. He had nothing. Supposedly, he's a Trump supporter, but he had no social media history since early 2017, 4 years ago. Just to be blunt with you, the second I heard about this, I said, well, here we go. Just another psyop, another false flag. You remember the guy in Miami, the mentally deranged guy that they made such a big deal about a couple years ago? He had a van that had 1 million pro-Trump stickers on it. Remember that guy? And they ended up throwing him in prison for 8 years because he was sending bombs to Pelosi and Schumer and, you know, all the Democrats. He sent them bombs, which at the end of the day proved not really to be bombs at all. They had no ability to actually explode and hurt anybody. But because of that whole situation, he was prosecuted. And again, this ended up really being just a feeble attempt at trying to tar Trump people as just raging lunatics that want to basically. I think this was really, now looking back on it, I think that was their original operation to start labeling Trump supporters as domestic terrorists. They didn't get very far with that, but it was all in the news. So you had this thing a couple days ago. Apparently, it wasn't worthy of even the media really talking about much. I think they wanted to use it, again, just to further the narrative that anybody who voted for Donald Trump is a threat to the homeland, okay? That's where it went. Jeremy Brown, a Green Beret, actually lives not too far from the LivePrayer offices in Pinellas County. He's in Pinellas County Jail right now, no bond. Jeremy Brown's an interesting individual. He's a war vet. He was approached last December by the FBI to work for them in an undercover manner. Jeremy Brown was a Green Beret and had the common sense to actually record these conversations with the FBI. And he went public with them. They were trying to make him be basically an undercover informant into white nationalist groups. Now, I live in Florida. I'm on the Southern Poverty Law Center hate map because I'm considered a hate organization. And while there are white supremacist groups in this nation, their total membership might be, 100? And they aren't in Florida. They're usually up in the Pacific Northwest with all the other Antifa wackos. But they tried to get this Jeremy Brown to become an informant in December. Jeremy Brown has said publicly that he knows other people, ex-military, ex-special ops people, that the FBI was trying to recruit. In December, Now, don't forget what happened on January 6th. That was full of FBI informants and operatives. So the FBI really wants this guy shut up, and they just want him shut up, throw him in jail. And it's going to be very interesting because at some point they're going to have to let him out. At some point, if they're going to charge him with anything, I don't know what, but if they're going to charge him with anything, a lot of information is going to come out. Again, it's just never what it seems. Never. New York Police Department, they have an NYP Sergeants Union. And apparently the FBI raided the Sergeants Union, raided the presidents of that Sergeants Union. They've been very disparaging towards the clown mayor of New York, de Blasio. Matter of fact, I know I mentioned this on the program back last summer, but in one of those George Floyd protests in New York, one of the people that got arrested, of course let go, but arrested, was de Blasio's daughter, who was very involved in some of the rioting that was going on in New York. And they released her mugshot, and he was very embarrassed. What I got out of people that I know is that primarily this was nothing but retribution by de Blasio for this. Again, like I've been telling you, and listen, this isn't anything new. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover was for whatever good he did, he was a bad guy. And he had no problem weaponizing the FBI against people he considered enemies. Kind of the difference was, though, it was kind of his enemies, not the sitting president's enemies. You know what I'm saying? In other words, the FBI was like his private police force almost. All right, and but here you got an entire administration and political party that has weaponized. But again, if you need any more proof that it's Barack Obama, look what Barack Obama did. One of the first things he did when he was in office, he weaponized the IRS. Remember Lois Lerner? Weaponized the IRS against who? Tea Party groups, because they were rising up against Obama and his garbage Obamacare. And that was just the beginning of weaponizing the agencies of the government to go after political. And again, to some extent, all presidents tried to do that in some way, shape, or form. You know, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, under the Kennedy presidency before he was assassinated, you know, went after organized crime, which I don't think anybody was, you know, not on board with that. But Lyndon Johnson, he was another one that had an enemies list. Nixon had a little enemies list that came to light. So there's always been some form of administrations using the levers of the federal government to go after people that, you know, they perceived or were their enemies, all right? But never to the scale that we've seen it starting with the Obama administration. Hunter Biden. It's so interesting. I hear people say all the time, why do people keep talking about Hunter Biden? He's not elected. I didn't vote for Hunter Biden. I voted for Joe Biden. Quit talking about Hunter. No, you've got to talk about Hunter because Hunter is the bag man for the Biden political machine, and he has been for decades. He's out there in plain sight in LA now, rubbing noses with a lot of very influential, well-moneyed people trying to sell that garbage he calls art, charging anywhere from $75,000 to $500,000. Remember how he wasn't going to know who these people were? That's garbage. He was there taking pictures with people, all involved. No shame, no conscience, no accountability. The contents of the laptop. I mean, Hunter Biden should be in prison for the rest of his life. Between the pedophilia, between the illegal targeting of foreign countries for money. Hunter Biden's not just some innocent, rogue son of a president. He's a danger, and because of Hunter and his brothers and sister, the Bidens are as corrupt as you get. That's why you're never going to see anything happen to China. That's why he shut down the Keystone Pipeline 1 minute, putting 40,000 Americans out of work, and in the next minute gave Vladimir Putin literally billions of dollars for decades to come by approving the gas pipeline in the journey that Trump had shut down. This is a corrupt family. This is a family that's put our national interests in grave danger. You want to talk about the great threat to the security of our homeland? It's not white Christian men who voted for Donald Trump. It's Hunter Biden. You think China gave him all those millions of dollars because they liked him? I've always told you, countries like North Korea, China, Russia, these kind of countries, Cuba, Venezuela, whenever you've got a foreign dignitary or somebody connected with power of a foreign country in those countries, I mean, they're not very sophisticated, but they're going to send women after these guys. They're going to, offer them drugs, whatever their weakness is. And everybody knows what Hunter's weakness is. It's well documented. Matter of fact, he was trying to pull off an extortion of Libya to unfree some of Gaddafi's assets when his father was vice president. We know this because of emails that we now know are accurate. Libya ultimately ended up not doing business with Hunter, and here's the reason. They did like a little brief opposition research on who Hunter was. They said he's a coke addict. He got thrown out of the Navy because of his drug addiction. They said Army is actually the Navy. They said he chases cheap prostitutes. He's always got money problems. They basically said he's a reprobate nightmare. And while I'm sure they wanted to be able to have him in with the Obama administration and maybe get some of those billions unfrozen, they weren't going to deal with a guy like Hunter. He's too fragile. He's too corrupt. He was too corrupt for the corrupt. How bad is that? But you go to these foreign countries, and they're always trying to get these foreign dignitaries, foreign business leaders, in some kind of a compromised situation. I mean, Hunter's a walking, talking compromised situation. He would do it on his own. They don't even need to help him. And God only knows the video that Xi in China has on Hunter Biden. Putin in Russia has on Hunter Biden. We know Putin's got one of his laptops. Hunter Biden told us the Russians stole it. You want to talk about national security nightmare? That's why Hunter Biden matters. Natural immunity is the key issue of the whole Chinese vax issue. You watch as these things start going through the courts. The courts, unlike Fauci and the other pimps for Big Pharma, are not going to be able to just ignore natural immunity. There's too many peer-reviewed studies, well documented, that people who've been infected and recovered have much more natural immunity than any vaccine could possibly give them. That is going to become a real key as these legal cases start working their ways through the courts, the natural immunity. And of course, why doesn't Fauci want to acknowledge immunity? Why won't Biden acknowledge that? Because they're shills for Big Pharma. Their job is to get as many people jabbed as possible because they're a shill for Big Pharma. Don't forget, the vaccine is still what? Free. Well, it's not free. We're actually paying for it. By the way, Merck, big drug company, it's got these COVID pills. They just sold a bunch of them in the United States, as a potential way to treat the Chinese flu for people infected. They're bragging because they're selling the pills to the U.S. government 40 times the cost to produce. Only God knows how much they're charging for these vaccines per dose. This is a bonanza for these companies, billions and billions and billions. And we know that because they've already had to report some of these earnings. They're just flooded with money. Matter of fact, a Pfizer official undercover, one of these James O'Keefe Project Veritas undercover things, admitted that they're just rolling in COVID money. That Pfizer, a Pfizer official admits that Pfizer drug company is being run right now on the billions it's generating from the COVID vaccine. And by the way, speaking of the vaccines, it's now starting to come out once again because some time has gone by. We've got some data now that the vaccine might be about 50% effective. We were told originally it was 90%, had 90% efficacy. Then they kind of backed it down to 65%. Well, now they're down to 50%. And again, if you're in that danger demographic, get all of the potential help you can. Scandinavian countries, several of them, Sweden being one, just put a halt to vaccinating anybody under 30. Why? Because they were getting too many very healthy kids coming up with the heart inflammation and myocarditis. And the government said, stop, no more under 30. We know if they're healthy and have no pre-existing medical issues, even if they get infected, they're going to be sick a couple days, just like you are with the flu, and they're going to recover, and they're going to have natural immunity. Given that they've got too many people getting vaxxed, that all of a sudden are showing up with this heart inflammation. So you got a bunch of Scandinavian countries, they have just shut down the vax for anybody under 30. This Facebook whistleblower, let me just hit this real quick. That, again, here we go. I told you the threat of tonight, it's never what it seems. It ultimately always ends up being a scam. This woman is not a whistleblower. This was all orchestrated by the Democrats. Do you know how I know that? One of the tricks I learned early on, especially in the Obama years and during the Trump years, whenever anybody comes forward that's involved in anything, and especially if they're going to be high profile, find out who their attorney is. I told you that Blasey Ford wackadoodle. Her attorney was a Department of Justice retiree who was in the whole Russia scam. The attorney for this quote-unquote Facebook whistleblower, her attorney, again, was another person that was heavily involved in the Obama administration and pushed a lot of the fake Russia stuff. She was invited to Congress not by the Democrats. What was her purpose? Why was she there? Why did they orchestrate this? Why did they go through this dog and pony show? Because they want more censorship. The Republicans are upset because they're getting blocked and banned and censored. The Democrats are upset because they think all content that isn't in support of their globalist agenda should be censored. Democrats want everything censored that they don't agree with. That's why she was there. She was there to push for more censorship. But at the end of the day, this wasn't a whistleblower, my friend. Not even close. Not even close. Oh, she was also just to put one more cherry on top of that whole situation. She was also one of the leads of the Facebook team that decided to suppress and kill the Hunter Biden laptop story that hit 2 weeks before the election. Remember how all the big media giants were shut that story down because it was going to hurt Biden? Well, she was one of the leads in the Facebook organization that was responsible for shutting that down. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Nothing's as it seems. Say a prayer for a woman named Sage Steele. Unless you're a sports fan, you don't have a clue who she is, and that's fine. You know, she's not a big player, but she's been at sports ESPN for a long time. She's biracial and very conservative. You can already see where this is going. She worked for ESPN, which is owned by who? ABC Disney, right? She's kind of been relieved of her duties right now for a little bit because she had the audacity to go on a podcast and basically tell the truth about Obama. Said the thing that you're not supposed to say. He had an absentee father, which he did. And she was really upset because she did not want to be vaccinated, but felt she had no choice. It was either get vaxxed or lose your job, so she got vaccinated. Not happy about that at all. So she's outspoken on things that, you know, she doesn't toe the party line. She doesn't toe the ESPN, Disney globalist party line. So she's in trouble right now for her job. Sure, there's other opportunities. She's very accomplished, does a good job, doesn't let her politics get into her sports reporting. Matter of fact, if you had watched her on TV and had not heard me talk about her tonight, you never know what she believed. But if you're not on the team, you're gone. You're gone. Now, speaking of things that are a scam and not what they seem. This started last week when Joe Biden got his booster and he was sitting at his Resolute desk in the Oval Office overlooking the Rose Garden until we find out he wasn't at the Resolute desk with a window overlooking the Rose Garden. He was on a set. Next to the White House is a big office building. It's where the vice president is and a lot of things. They've got a lot of big conference rooms. They have taken one of those big auditoriums in the building next to the White House and made a mini version of the Oval Office, a set of the Oval Office. And that's where Joe goes to do a lot of his Zoom calls and things like that. My question is why? You've got the real Oval Office. Why don't you just do it from the real Oval? You're the president. You can go to anywhere in the White House. Why did they have to make a... And again, if you didn't know this, you just think he's sitting in the Oval Office. But he's not. Everything they do is dishonest. And I'm going to be honest with you. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out why they're doing this other than the fact it looks like a controlled studio where they can shut it down like immediately whenever they need to. Should have shut him down today. He was on Zoom call today with a bunch of people when he doesn't have a teleprompter or he doesn't have note cards in front of him. It isn't embarrassing. It's sad. And if the lowly internet evangelist in Florida sees just how pathetic it is, trust me, people with a vested interest in our country that want to see our country go down. Oh, you know, like Putin, Xi, Kim Jong-un, the mullahs in Iran. people that hate this country, if you don't think they're watching closely, and if you don't think they know that Biden's a puppet, see, this is another reason why nobody's getting all upset because his poll numbers are so low. It doesn't matter what his poll numbers are. He's a puppet. He's an avatar. They don't care what his poll numbers are. They're in office. They're in control. That's all they care about. University of Colorado Hospital. Woman was finally going to get a kidney transplant to save her life. Had a perfect match. And then she got a letter in the mail. They're not going to let her do. They're not going to do the kidney transplant because neither she nor the person that was donating the matched kidney were vaccinated. And if you're not vaccinated, we are going to deny you service. Unbelievable. Highest increase in the national homicide rate in 2020. Highest increase in the nation's homicide rate last year. The highest increase 100 years. Highest increase in 100 years. Told you China's got some real issues financially. They've got a real estate bubble that is bursting as we speak. A lot of their manufacturers are only working 1 day a week now. 1 day a week. And as I mentioned the other night, they're actually starting to ration electricity in some places in China. They've got some real economic problems. And again, when a totalitarian regime like Communist China has their back against the wall, the first thing they do is look to divert attention. Listen, I didn't really speak last night. I didn't have time to get it in. There's not much to say, but Senator Kirsten Sinema of Arizona, you may have seen she was harassed by people in the bathroom because she's not budging on the filibuster, isn't going to vote for that $3.5 trillion monstrosity. And it turns out that the people harassing her they just weren't idle people that just were upset with Kirsten Sinema. No, this is all staged. Again, it's never what it seems. These people work for a very far left, Soros-funded group. Okay? They didn't just show up. All right, let me talk about this COVID conspiracy real quick. I want to get this in tonight. I may go back to it tomorrow, but I at least want to start this tonight. I mean, this is the coup de grace of things not being what they seem. Now, you may remember I shared with you back in, I think it was 2014 or 2015, somewhere around there. Fauci's, on camera in a conversation talking about experiments, research, all that. And the discussion came up to novel coronaviruses and gain of function research, which is basically how you turn a normal coronavirus into a monster. And Fauci is on record saying that, because he was asked, what if there's an accident? What if this thing got out? And it could cause a global pandemic. And Fauci's on record saying, you know what, that would be very bad. That would be very bad to happen. But you know what? The research is worth the risk. Even if that happened, even if it got out, even if it caused a global pandemic, the research is worth the risk. Just to set the stage for his mind, okay? Now, just so you know, this isn't some crazy, tinfoil hat stuff. What I'm about ready to tell you actually took place on C-SPAN. We've got the video, okay? Again, this isn't some spliced and diced tinfoil hat stuff. This was actually on C-SPAN back in October 2019. And it was Fauci with Health and Human Service officials, other health experts, discussing how to enforce a universal flu vaccination. Oh, wait. I haven't even got into this yet. Listen to this. The discussion was about how to develop and release a virus. And the United Nations was involved in this. Different government officials were involved in this. The first video clip is about a guy in the panel named Michael Spector, a journalist from the New Yorker, who's also a professor of bioengineering at Stanford University. No joke. And of course, you had Fauci there and other people with HHS. And they were conceptualizing in this discussion having a new outbreak of a novel avian flu virus, a novel coronavirus from China, so they could bypass the way the FDA approved things and enforce an mRNA vaccine to the masses. In other words, they were talking about purposely releasing this, some sort of a monster virus on the world, and how that would enable them to bypass standard FDA approval for a vaccine that they could mandate to the masses. Does that sound like anything that we might have been going through for the last 21 months? And this whole thing took place in the late summer of 2019 on C-SPAN. Again, this isn't some concocted tinfoil hat stuff. How about that? Told you, this Fauci guy, he needs to be in prison. He's a horrible human being. I told you, he's the godfather of this whole thing. This whole thing. I mean, what an absolute nightmare. Let me see if there's anything else I want to get in. Think about that, though. This whole thing, number one, I have no doubt that China released it on purpose for their own reasons. We've talked about that. I don't believe this was leaked. I believe it was dropped on purpose. And again, what makes most sense is it was released during the World Military Games that actually took place in Wuhan, China in October or so of 2019. And that would coincide with the first sightings of this in Italy and other places, right? I mean, the timing is perfect. And now we know that this may not just be China that was involved in releasing it for their own reasons. This may have been an organized release so they could get around FDA approval for a global vaccination. Now you say, well, why would they want to do that? Billions and billions and billions of dollars. Now, I have no doubt. I will give Fauci the benefit of the doubt that he's not motivated by money. I actually believe that. He's motivated by something, the other driving force other than money. Power. How powerful is it for a guy that can sit there and tell you whether you can leave your house or not, go to school or not, celebrate Christmas or not? Are you kidding me? This is starting to look like a very coordinated event. No accidents, no coincidences. All right, I got to stop there. Boy, I've got so much more to get to. One last thing on Fauci, whether you knew it or not, there's an actual documentary that somebody made on Fauci. Released it to movie theaters and stuff. Normally, every week you get a report on how much different things made at the box office, right? For whatever reason, the distributor of this Fauci documentary has refused to release any of the financial numbers. Refused. My guess is because it flopped. Just that's my guess. We'll see. Isn't that sad? Everything turns out to be a scam. It's all orchestrated. None of it's real. I'll tell you what is real. Life is real. Whether you that's not denied. Nobody can deny that if you got a functioning brain. Life is real. Death is real. It's part of life. God is real. Jesus is real. Your eternal soul is real. And when this brief journey is over, your eternal soul is going to either be forever with the God who created you or apart from the God who created you. And that's a choice, a very real choice, you and only you can make. And if you want to make that commitment of your life to Christ tonight, knowing that your eternal soul will be forever with the Lord, pray with me now. Dear Lord, I come to you this evening, asking you to forgive me of all my sins. Tonight, Lord, I believe in my heart and confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord. Tonight, I surrender my life to you. Come into my heart, come into my life, take my life, use it for your glory, now and forevermore. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen. And my friend, if you prayed and you meant it, the Bible says you're saved, not because you said a few words, because your faith in God's grace. Have a book I'll send you, won't cost you anything. Drop me an email, bkeller@liveprayer.com. I'll get it right out to you. If you need prayer for anything, don't hesitate to contact me, okay? Love and care about you so much. Have a great night tonight. I can tell you right now, got another big program tomorrow night, just from the stuff we still need to catch up from tonight. So if you can catch us live, beautiful. If not, make sure you watch it on demand on any of our platforms, and make sure you tell your friends and family, okay? All right, love and care about you so much. Have a great night. God bless you.
What problems are you dealing with in your life right now?
Do you feel like giving up? Times are hard and you're not strong. Well, I know the answer for you, and it will